We'll start reading in chapter 2, verse 6. When Joshua dismissed the people of Israel went each to his inheritance to take possession of the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great work that the Lord had done for Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110 years. And they buried him within the boundaries of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of the mountain of Gaash. And all that generation also were gathered to their fathers. And there arose another generation after them who did not know the Lord, or the work that the Lord had done for Israel. And the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and served the Baals. And they abandoned the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt. They went after other gods from among the gods of the peoples who were around them, and they bowed down to them. And they provoked the Lord to anger. They abandoned the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtoreth. And so the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he gave them over to plunderers who plundered them. And he sold them into the hand of their surrounding enemies, so that they could no longer withstand their enemies. Whenever they marched out, the hand of the Lord was against them for harm, as the Lord had warned, and as the Lord had sworn to them, and they were in terrible distress. Then the Lord raised up judges who saved them out of the hand of those who plundered them. Yet they did not listen to their judges, but they poured after other gods and bowed down to them. They soon turned aside from the way in which their fathers had walked, who had obeyed the commandments of the Lord, and they did not do so. Whenever the Lord raised up judges for them, the Lord was with the judge, and he saved them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord was moved to pity by their groaning because of those who afflicted and oppressed them. But whenever the judge died, they turned back and were more corrupt than their fathers, going after other gods, serving them and bowing down to them. They did not drop any of their practices or their stubborn ways. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he said, because this people have transgressed my covenant that I commanded their fathers and have not obeyed my voice, I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations that Joshua left when he died, in order to test Israel by them, whether they will take care to walk in the way of the Lord as their fathers did or not. So the Lord left those nations, not driving them out quickly, and he did not give them into the hand of Joshua. Now these are the nations that the Lord left to test Israel by them, that is, all in Israel who had not experienced all the wars of Canaan. It was only in order that the generations of the people of Israel might know war, to teach war to those who had not known it before. These are the nations, the five lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites, who lived on Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon, as far as Lebo Hamath. They were the testing of Israel, to know whether Israel would obey the commandment of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. So the people of Israel lived among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And their daughters took to themselves for wives. They took to themselves for wives. Their own daughters they gave to their sons, and they served their gods. All right, this is not an encouraging chapter. Actually, this is not an encouraging book, folks. There is encouragement in it. This Judges is it's important to understand Judges before you understand Judges to understand Deuteronomy. Judges is the object lesson of Deuteronomy. God's promise was to the Israelites, if you're faithful, you drive out the nations, you don't bow down to their gods, break down their altars, I'll be with you. If you don't, they'll become a snare to you. Well, Judges, they don't, and becomes a snare. But before we start, let me see. Come on. There we go. Background. A little bit of background history. And geography is important. Why? Here we go. Because it happened. Well, that makes sense. Really true. Christianity doesn't work if you believe it because you think it helps you. You have to believe it because it's true. Then it helps you. It's not a self-help scheme, Christianity, being a Christian. You don't decide to believe it because it'll work for you. It's not like the survey at the back of Women's Day. Or it's not like a test you take in college, whatever. It's, personality thing or whatever, right? I've been in doctor's offices. It's nothing like that. You believe it because it's true, not because it helps you. If you want to be a Christian because you think it will help you, you're on the wrong religion. You believe it. Is it true or not? If the answer is yes, I believe it because it's true, then it helps you. A second reason is because the Bible's not written to you. Did you know that? It's not written to us. It's written for us. There's a big difference. The Bible is sometimes I've heard described as a love letter from God. Yeah, if you look at it a certain way, maybe. It's not. It's not written to you. It's written for us, the Bible says, 1 Corinthians, so that we can learn, but it's not written to us. So we have to understand, we have to do the hard yards. Each generation, each of us have to do the hard yards to understand it. The other thing is that we have to understand history and geography because it keeps our faith free from anachronisms. What do I mean by that? You ever see a movie set in the, like the 1800s, and there'll be someone with a chisel watch on, they're dressed like they're in the 1800s, they got a modern watch. That's an anachronism. Sometimes our faith can be full of anachronisms. We can't just read it and do what it says. Well, there's parts of the Bible that you can understand that. It's pretty clear. There's a lot of it you can't. So we have to understand the history and understand the culture. So we have a better chance at accurate application. We need to give ourselves the best chance at accurate application. That's why it's important. That's not in my notes. That's before the notes, right? Anyway, so this is the map of the time of the Judges because it's actually there. You can go there. Some of you already been there. Paul has been there. So Samson, Othniel, Ibzan, Ehud, these are all the places where the Judges took place. It was about 1200 BC to 1000 BC, roughly. The Judges are not in chronological order, but they each, in other words, what was happening at Jephthah, the same thing was happening to Samson about the same time, that sort of thing. There are different regional areas, different tribal areas where these events took place. And let's put a little map there for you. And they're spread all over Israel. So these stories take place in different parts of Israel. All right. So how does the book work, the structure? Well, chapter 2 that we just read and chapter 1 go together. They're a double introduction. So, and it's written by a master storyteller. Can you imagine if this book wasn't if this book had been just discovered, we'd be going, wow. The whole world would be going, what a great book. You'd have all kinds of movies coming from it, right? It's a master storyteller. So the storytelling starts in chapter 1 as a double introduction with chapter 2. Chapter 1 is from the Israelites' perspective, how they saw going into. So it starts with Joshua, chapter 1. Chapter 2 starts with who? Joshua again. It's the second story, but that's from God's perspective what's going on in chapter 2. Chapter 6 sets up the cycle. So he talks about the cycles that will run from chapter 3 to chapter 16. And the cycles are which we'll get to in a minute. They'll be repeating over and over again. But they won't repeat perfectly, but they will repeat through chapter 16, through Samson, from Othniel to Samson. Then chapter 17 to 21 are two stories, and they work as a double conclusion. So we have a double introduction, a group of cycle stories, then a double conclusion with two different Levites. But they're all important, and chapter 2 sets up the cycles so we can pick up the ironies in the story. The whole book of Judges is full of irony. For example, God commanded the Israelites not to intermarry with the Canaanites. Well, what did the Israelites do? Intermarry. But then, who did they forbid themselves from intermarrying with at the end of the book of Judges, for those of you that know? The Benjamites. So they refused to let their people intermarry with the Benjamites, who were their own people. They were supposed to. But they let their people intermarry with the Canaanites. The other one, the Israelites refused to wipe out the Canaanites as God commanded, but who did they wipe out? The Benjamites, their own people. So the book is full of irony. So if you know the setup, you can look for these things. And so it makes it a lot more interesting sort of read. How did the cycles work? There we go. People rebelled, they worship other gods, and this was the little section we read. Then God is angry. So then the people are oppressed by the enemies, whose gods they worship. When if you read Romans 1 through 3, what happens when we turn away from God and worship idols? God gives us up to that. God gives the people up in Israel, just like in Romans chapters 1 through 3. The people cry out to God and they repent. Then God sends his chosen leader, who's called a judge, not like a judge today, they're a tribal leader who delivers them, they get salvation. Then they have what? Peace. Then what do they do with the judge that just rescued them? They ignore him. They don't listen to him. Then they become what? More corrupt than their fathers. So it's a cycle, but it's not, it's a vicious cycle. It goes down and down and down and down in the book of Judges. There's a virtuous circle, right? We've heard virtuous circle. Things get better and better, but this is vicious. It goes down worse and worse. And the cycle itself, as we read it, degenerates. So the rebellion gets worse as you read from Othniel. It's bad, but it gets worse as it goes all the way to Samson. The oppression is heavier, they're more oppressed than they were previously. The repentance is less heartfelt, and towards the end they're not even repenting, they're just groaning. No repentance at all by the time you get to Samson. The judges are more flawed than they were. So the best of them is Othniel at the beginning, the worst of them is Samson at the end. The ones that has the least written about them are the best, the ones with a lot written about them are the worst as you go through the book. And each of the cycles, even the cycle itself breaks down. Some of these things aren't in some of the cycles. And it gets in some parts, some of the stories highlight parts of the cycle, they're not there. Just as the political life became unstable and morality became unstable, the spiritual life becomes more unstable, the story itself becomes unstable. The cycle itself breaks down. It's a master storyteller. And it builds to a climax of Samson, the most exciting story, but the lowest moral degradation of the whole thing. So it all, the master storyteller, the writer of Judges. This vicious cycle is reflected in the judges. The main judges, Othniel, Ehud, Deborah, Barak, Gideon, Abimelech, Jephthah, and Samson. As you go on, the conflicts are worse. By the time you get to Gideon, you start getting this civil war, not just fighting the Canaanites, but fighting each other. And Jephthah and Samson is even turned in by his own people. It's reflected, the degradation is reflected in the women. Asa, who we read about last week, was a faithful woman. She got God's blessing, right? Deborah's and Jael, right? And then the women of Thebes, they dropped the stone on Abimelech's head, and he asked a man to run a sword through him, so they can't say a woman killed him. Still proud of him. And finally, Delilah, the worst of all, the women degraded. But this kind of cycle of deprivation, again, if you read Romans 1 through 3, what do you get? The same kind of cycle. Our lives. It's a picture of our lives. It's not a moral lesson. Be like Gideon. Don't be like Samson. But it's the story of God's unending love and kindness towards his depraved people. That's the story of Judges. For those of you that are visiting with us and there's a command here about God's word to drive out the Canaanites, but I don't want to go through it. I'm going to go through very quickly this, to drive out and destroy them. And because it seems to our mind in our day to contradict two of the Ten Commandments: do not murder and do not steal, to drive out and kill the Canaanites. But I need to say some words about it. Now, the last time I spoke on this somewhere, I never got asked to preach there again, so I'm a little bit hesitant, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm just going to go through very quickly important considerations. Now, I've got notes, so if you can email me, I'll send you the notes. Or maybe I'll send it to Ian, you can put it on the website. The important considerations about that is that, one, it's not on the basis of race to drive out the Canaanites. Rahab was a Canaanite prostitute who was saved. Ruth was a Moabite. Fortunately, Ruth was after Judges, which is a relief. In the same time period, it's a mission to evict pagan worship and worshipers. It's not a war of imperialistic expansion. They didn't plunder or enslave. They were to kill and drive them out, break down their altars. It was a war of judgment. God's direct revelation. It was a direct revelation of God. The only time God told the Israelites to destroy them and get rid of the Canaanites is God's eternal judgment brought forward through war, just as He brings eternal blessings forward. God brings His eternal blessings forward in our life. He also brings His judgment forward into the world. What do I say is eternal judgment? We get hints. Genesis 15:16 says the sin of the Amorites is not yet complete. 400 more years God gives them to repent. You read Leviticus chapter 19 through chapter 21. It has the conduct of the most disgraceful and cruel kind, including family rape, family incest, child sacrifice. That was the culture of the Canaanites. That was their lifestyle. And it's a great read to read that thing and see how bad things were and say, this is how the people live in Canaan. That's why the land will vomit them out. And that's what God's doing. But the other thing to remember that is that God doesn't play favoritism. When the Israelites that came, moved in there, and they didn't repent, they adopted the lifestyle, guess what happened to them? They too were driven out by the Assyrians, and then later by the Babylonians, and finally in AD 70 by the Romans. God doesn't play favorites. God used pagans to unleash his judgment on his own people. So God's not unfair about it. He's very fair. It's not an excuse for imperialism and wars of conquest or colonization like it has been in the past. It's God's direct command at that particular time for those particular people. And we need to approach this question in our modern world with humility. We live in a fallen world. We live in a damned world. There will always be wars, and wars are necessary sometimes to stop oppression, to protect the weak, but sometimes the weak get hurt as a result. In war, women and children are killed by the soldiers, civilians, and they're often killed more so than the others. If we think about it, we can look back sometimes with arrogance. How could God say to do that? Look at people doing that. But think about it. How many people were killed in Tokyo or Berlin from bombs dropped by our people? Or Hanoi? Or Baghdad? How many innocent people were killed by us? Lots. We can't be arrogant. We need to be humble. And we haven't been judged by Deuteronomy. And how can we judge God who commanded them to drive out the Israelites when our ancestors drove out the Aborigines? Well, not mine. Mine were American Indians, right? It's the same principle. So we've got to be very humble about it. And when we approach judgment, God's the judge. We need to be humble in our approach to the Scriptures, even when we don't quite understand it. We need to be humble. But we condemn them for child sacrifice, the Canaanites and the Israelites who picked it up later. But how many children have been sacrificed in the womb in our culture, in our world? How many hundreds of thousands? How many children have been sacrificed on the altar of career? It's amazing. So, Judges is a place where we look out. Sinful we are like the people of Judges, rather than feel superior. They may have had a bigger impact, but it comes from the same heart. So that's all I'll say about that. It's important for So this outline, first lost generation, the nature of idolatry, and God's great mercy. Lost generation, Judges chapter 2 talks about the second generation. They didn't know the Lord. And the question that has to be asked naturally is, whose fault is it? Right? Was it the parents' fault? Or was it the children's fault? Any ideas? Anyone game? Yes, exactly. Both. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 and 9, and verse 20 and 29 is meant to prevent that from happening. Talk about the Lord. Talk about your faith. It says, love God wholeheartedly, which means as parents to have behavior consistent with beliefs. Have daily concrete living. The gospel informs our decision making. We don't say, I'll take this job because it's a great job. What's the gospel? How does the gospel inform what I do? Have personal faith, warm, open about our lives, because our kids need to see us struggle and be open about our struggles. We do struggle, don't we? Our kids need to know they struggle. We struggle. And we also need to be aware that we need to be smart about what their struggles are. Their struggles as young people are not our struggles when we were young, because that was a long time ago. You know, back when we were young, there was no fax machine. When we wanted to get together and play games, we actually got out boards and put them on a table and sat around and played games, not on a screen. It's a different world, different struggles. You know, it's not enough for us to think we can instruct them in the right doctrine, shelter them from immoral behavior, send them to church activities. That's not enough. We have to be open about our faith, and we have to be savvy about their struggles. But ultimately, we all fail as parents. Yeah. We're all failures as Christian parents. Ultimately, right? Only God's grace can make a difference. And it's wrong for us to think we can trust our parenting skills, put our confidence in our parenting skills. I'll be great Christian parents, and if I do this, because Deuteronomy and Proverbs is not a magic formula. It's not a formula. You do this and this is your result. We can't trust in our parenting skills. We have to trust in God and His grace. And we fail. We're failures as parents. Now, it is up to our children to pick up the faith. But the point here is that the whole generation's forgotten, then something did go wrong at the parent level, right? There is something going on. But it's a mix. Let's just talk about that's lost generation. Now, the nature of idolatry. God calls it here worshiping idols like being a married prostitute. Think about that. You're married to your wife and she's a prostitute. Isn't that amazing? That's how God sees idols. Idolatry. When we go, well, there's no idols today, but this idea of secularism is that, well, if we're just completely secular, if we don't worship God as a people, no God, then there's no idols. But the trouble is, we bestow spirituality on whatever becomes important to us, even if it's not something we bow down to. It becomes sacred. Other things become sacred. People, things, processes, events are given a sacred status in our hearts. It's that important to us. We worship and serve created things rather than created. And you can see that from the South City Rabbitohs fans, right? They bestow sacredness on it. on following my kind of mind now. Unlike Manly, which I do mind, but South, glory to South City. Right? But we can't. There's no such thing as a secular society. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. Because everyone worships something or somebody. Baal and Ashtart back then were fertility cults. They worship to have good crops. They guarantee good crops. Their flocks and herds would be great. They get good money, have material prosperity. That doesn't sound like our day, does it? You allow me to be a little bit cynical. Yes, that is. Material prosperity. It's the same as worshiping Baal. The pagan gods, I said there were lots of pagan gods. Pagan gods, they don't demand sovereignty over everything, but you can pick and choose the god you wanted. You need you're going on a trip, you want this god of protection. Going on a sea voyage, Neptune in the Greek days. Sacrifice to him, he's happy with you, you'll be safe. You can pick and choose the god you needed. But the God of heaven commands complete loyalty. Not one of any, not even a favorite. This word marriage analogy is good here. You know, some of you that are married, what if your spouse told you? You know, honey, you're my favorite wife. How would she feel? Oh, thanks, honey. Or she tells you, said, you know, you're my favorite man. I'm so glad I married you, and you're not near as good as my other boyfriends. I mean, you're not better than my other boyfriends. You know, that's what it's like when you worship something besides God. God's like, what is an idol? An idol is whatever you look to for security or identity. And I want to do what's one writer, I've forgotten some of this stuff was pulled together, I can't remember who I read it from. But the word he uses is functional idol. It's easy to be an active, and I'm talking to us church Christians here, an active, committed church member, study the Bible, pray, do good deeds, and still be idolatrous. You know how I know that? What were the Pharisees? They knew their Bible. They read, they were committed. They were super committed. They were idolatrous in their hearts. What's a functional idol? Well, examples will be money. Maybe that's one. Maybe it's careers. Whatever gives you security. Whatever gives you identity. Maybe it's your identity as a parent. I feel complete. I won't feel like if I'm a good parent. If my kids turn out all right. Maybe that's it. And maybe it's even being a valued church leader or a church member. Maybe it's to be the best at something. But the trouble is, if you try to be the best at something, there'll always be someone better, right? It'll always leave you disappointed. It'll always enslave you. What are signs of idols? Again, I can't remember who said this, but there are two things. Idols are hard to discern in our culture. We have to think about them. Think about them in our lives. What's your worst nightmare? Think about your worst nightmare. Maybe that's an indication of what's an idol. What is it? Maybe that's an indication of something that you lost or was taken away from you would destroy you personally. You would feel like jumping off a bridge. What is it? Another thing is uncontrolled emotions. Maybe it's anger, fear, unforgiveness. I know I should forgive. I know the Bible says it, but I can't forgive. Then what's your idol? What's your idol? That person that you can't forgive, maybe they did something to your idol, and that's why you can't forgive. Maybe you're always afraid. You know, Jesus died on the cross. He died, right? But he's alive now. Our promise is, as Christians, that we will be alive again. So once you're not afraid of death, what is there to be afraid of? What are you afraid of? Does fear control you? Why can't I be afraid of it? What? Is there an uncontrolled fear? Maybe that's a sign of an idol. You know you shouldn't be afraid, but you can't get past it. You know you shouldn't feel guilty, but you can't get it's uncontrolled emotion. You know, this comes up so suddenly. You know, for me, one of my idols that I have to watch out is popularity. I want people to like it. It's all right. It's fine though. And a lot of the idols are good things. Money, career is good, family is good. Wanting people to like you, that's good. But when it becomes an ultimate, then it's an idol.
Yeah.
I want people to like me. That's good. You can learn how to get along. But if that's your ultimate, then it's an idol. Guess what? I don't talk to people when I need to because I don't want to offend, so I'm not comfortable. Or another one is to feel like I have to accomplish something. I've got to do something before I feel valued. So one time when I left the administration, I was offered a chance to go back to the States, which I didn't take, which I write about. But one of the reasons I didn't want to go about was because I didn't feel like I accomplished anything here when I moved here. I came here, I had no qualifications, I didn't accomplish. My idol was accomplishing rather than getting my identity and security in God. Another one I noticed, which recently was, in my work situation, I get along really well with all the senior management team. And I get on well with my boss, but I always treated them a little bit differently, a little bit awkward around me. And I was thinking, why is that? And I realized it's because he's the only one that can pull the plug on my contract within minutes' notice. Why is that important? Because I earn money from him employing me there. So that told me my security was in the money I earned from him, and he's the one so I'm treating him differently rather than treating him like someone, a normal person. See, my security was in him, his ability, that contract, rather than treating him like another colleague and being concerned about him and his welfare. I'm awful. And those are the kind of things that when we start thinking about it, will pop up. Idols will always enslave you, just like the Israelites. If it's a relationship and it breaks down, if it's a good relationship and it breaks down, it's sad, and it should be sad. But you feel like jumping off a bridge. You're completely despondent. It's over. That's your idol. If it's your career, and the career goes bad, your life is ended. You feel it's over. That's what your idol is. It's your career. If it's success, when you fail, you'll feel like a failure the rest of your life. It will destroy you because you'll always be a failure. The idol will destroy you. If it's in how your children turn out, when they don't turn out like you hope, it will destroy you. And when they do turn out if they do turn out like you would like them to, you'll always worry about it. It'll go bad. You'll worry about it. It'll destroy you anyway. And all of these things are good. It's good to want your children to turn out well. It's good to have success. It's good to have careers. It's good to have relationships. But they can't be the ultimate. It's a love out of order. If you love your job more than family, you destroy your family. They'll all destroy you. But God, when you fail Him, you know what? He loves you. And you will fail him again and again. And he does what? Love you. That's what Judges shows. You worship God, he's the only one that doesn't fail you. He's the one that doesn't enslave you. When we serve the Lord, what are we doing when we become idolatrous? We're looking for value, validation that we're important, and we're looking for security. But if our value if our identity is in our value to God, we're loved as we are. We're loved right now. I don't have to do anything to be. I can't do anything to be more loved than I am now. You can't do anything to be more loved than God loves you now. He's loved you the most he ever can. And he's proven it. And he proves it to us by paying for our rebellion with his life and marrying us. God calls the Israelites his bride. Jesus calls us his bride. He marries us not because, when you go to a wedding, brides look great, right? They all look beautiful. But it's like God marries us and we're a mess. He's beautiful because we're beautiful because he makes us that way. We're valued. Our identity is that. He loves us by paying for our rebellion with his life and marrying us. We're attracted to him when we're his enemies, not when we're good. So we can have value. We don't have to have success to have value. We don't have to prove ourselves to feel like we have value. And we have security. It's provided by him. The wages of sin is death. And we all die, but he provides the resurrection. And you, heaven, you are, our world will be transformed and our bodies will be. And once death is destroyed, there's nothing anyone can do with us, to us. We have security. Even in death, the worst thing that can happen, we have some great security. It can't be more secure than that. So when we worship God, we're free to enjoy his blessings without being a slave to created things. We can enjoy our work. God gives us a garden. We're all put in the garden to work. We can enjoy our work on earth. Your career is like working in the garden. Your family, you enjoy church, you enjoy your music, you enjoy life without it meaning everything to you. If something goes bad, we're sad but not despondent. There's loss but not despair. You can enjoy great creation without being enslaved to the creation when we worship God. That's the nature of idolatry. Idols all around. We see them everywhere. You have to learn to look. God's great mercy, finally Judges 2. God raises up judges, saves them over and over. And it leads us, all the tribal leaders, the judges we'll read about, will lead us looking to a true king, King Jesus. Gideon was a judge without being a king. Abimelech was a king without being a judge. But the King Jesus is who we look to. God leads the Canaanites in the land. Why? So the people learn to depend on him. God leads them there so they will depend on him. They'll learn to rely on him. He doesn't let them go. He helps them even when they don't deserve it, which they never deserve it in Judges. So in Romans chapter 3, in the whole book of Judges, as I was working on this sermon, it reminded me so much of Romans 1 through 3. I want to close out. It reaches the lowest point. By the end of Judges, the final conclusion of Judges, in the last 4 chapters, everything degrades. The whole story degrades. The behavior degrades. So it's just a complete mess at the end of it. Romans chapter 1 talks about the people that don't know God at all, pagans. Not religious. Romans 2 talks about the Jews who do know who God is. And Paul works through the same process, the downward spiral of morality, of the not serving God and trying to serve God on our own terms and do things so we earn our salvation. Finally, he says, it reaches its lowest point, verse 9 through verse 18. What then, are we Jews any better off? Not at all, for we have charged already that both Jews and Greeks are under sin. As it is written, none is righteous, no, not one. No one understands. No one seeks for God. All have turned aside, together they become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Their throat is an open grave, their tongues deceive. The venom of asps is under their lips. Their mouth is full of curses and bitterness. The feet are swift to shed blood, and their paths are run in misery. The way of peace they have not known, and there is no fear of God before their eyes. And when we read through Judges, we sense that, we feel that, we hear it, we see it, we picture it. And Romans 3 says that. But, he says in verse 20, 19, he says, we know whatever the law says, it speaks to those under the law, so that every mouth may be stopped, the whole world is accountable to God. For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight, since through the law comes knowledge of sin. But now, verse 21, the righteousness from God has been manifested apart from law, to which the law and prophets bear witness. The righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believe, for there is no distinction. In Judges we learn, in picture and story and narrative, that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Everyone. And all are justified freely by His grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus, whom God put forth as propitiation for His blood to be received by faith. So that right down the spiral, the lowest point, God redeems. He's the ultimate judge. We're like the people in Judges, but He saves us not because we're good, but because He's good, which gives us great reason and joy, and we don't have to find our identity in any idol or security anywhere else. But God provides all of those things for us through the gospel. Let's go to the short prayer. God, we thank You for just how You teach us in the book of Judges. Father, such an awesome book. Just the stories are just you can see them happening before you. It's like IMAX 3D, 4D surround sound, and the whole thing that we all really do need You. We need Your salvation, and that You continue to look after us and continue to love us and pour out Your life for us. God, I thank You for how You do that for us. Let us always worship You and just see through the idols, Father, not put any hope in the idols, hope in anything else, created things, but only You.